J.J.Wallia is CEO of ADF Solutions. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
The challenges that you're seeing law enforcement organizations running into as they're trying to incorporate a lot of these new cutting edge technologies into the technology they already have and into the workflows that they already have.
One of the issues that law enforcement is having, particularly here in the US, is that they're sticking to standard practices that have been set in the industry 20 years ago, and they have not adopted or adapted to the problems. One of the biggest problems is the volume of data that's come. And the second problem is that the judicial system has focused very much on extracting as much data as possible. And everyone's lost sight at some level that cases need to be solved quickly. And there are technologies out there that focus on rapid investigations or getting to the problems as soon as possible. And the law enforcement agencies in the US have been slow to adapt to that.
Is that a quantity versus quality of data problem, or is there some other issue that is driving that in your view?
It's a judicial processes and lack of awareness amongst the prosecutors. And most importantly, that a lot of these professionals, they're very smart people, but they've not been trained to focus on speed.
What is what are the kind of what's the delta between where they are today and the situation is possible based on technology adaptation to drive that speed that you're describing?
The delta is not very big. It's really a question of policy. For example, in the UK, they use the same tools, they use the same training, but their backlogs are on average 3 months, and the average backlogs here are 3 years.
What is what's lacking speed-wise then? Is it just a matter of changing those policies? And in what way would those policy changes be able to cut that backlog?
If they use tools that focus on extracting the most important data as soon as possible, that can secure either a plea or a conviction, that would solve the problem. But the focus now is on getting as much data, running an exhaustive analysis, not leaving any breadcrumbs behind. And that's taking a lot of time.
And that it sounds like that's philosophical almost, as opposed to based on some legal precedent or some law.
Correct. I'll give you an example. Very large organization in the UK, their main federal organization. I won't mention them, but they will use a tool like that takes these extractions, and if they use a full system extraction, it takes on average 4.5 hours to process that. When they use a tool like ours, it takes them 35 minutes on average. So they have a window in which to deliver the results, and only we can meet that window. And that would be a problem. Many agencies in the US would use that, but they're a small fraction of the entire population of agencies in the US.
And I imagine that problem is only exacerbated by the fact that there's more and more data all the time. I'm learning at this event, body cam data is increasing exponentially. Sensor data is increasing exponentially. Law enforcement organizations using drones now that are collecting data and so on.
Yeah.
Am I on the right track there?
Completely. Yeah. So it's just data overload, basically. Yeah.
And that, I guess, kind of takes me back to that quality versus quantity issue. What's the biggest challenge other than policy that you see law enforcement organizations having in parsing all this data that's coming in, this avalanche of stuff, to determine what the pieces are that are going to help them do their jobs better?
I would say it's lack of financial resources is the number one. I'm shocked as to how low the budgets are and how much is allocated. But that seems to be an international problem. It's not just a US problem. And the second one is that there's a reluctance to give frontline investigators tools to immediately extract relevant data. They wait for everything to go back to the lab, which is what creates the backlog. And if you properly triage these devices in the field, you can reduce the number of devices that go back to the lab, and you'll effectively reduce your backlog.
It's a similar situation to what the military is dealing with and how to connect endpoint to endpoint rather than having to have an endpoint come back to HQ, have HQ send that out to the other endpoint. Is that the same?
It's exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah. It's the military is I'm amazed that they actually are able to they're very good. I don't know how they solve the problem. I would like to find out.
JJ, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.